Well, you know, at Maccabi USA, we have so many different sports, and we tried to highlight all of them on our Maccabi USA at Home platform. And we're bringing you a brand new sport tonight with equestrian and with Daniel Bluman. And I'm really pleased to have him with us. And I'm really pleased to have our guest moderator, who I'm going to introduce you to right now, William Schwitzer. Thanks for doing this for William. William was born in Connecticut. He is the son of 2 Holocaust survivors. He and his brothers grew up on an 800-acre farm in Connecticut. And based on their history, they wanted to make sure that William and their brother received the best education. So they drove to school 45 minutes away to go to the Norwich Hebrew Day School. They also founded a shul in Connecticut. And after William graduated law school and he passed the bar, he moved to Ronkonkoma, New York in 1996. He built a small farm there and a property, and he started to build his family and his career. 2 children, David and Alexa. Alexa, who joined us in Mexico City. She is an alum of Maccabi USA at the Pan American Maccabi Games. And now William of the law firm William Schwitzer and Associates in Midtown Manhattan. And he loves his career, he loves his family, and he loves horses. And that passion has grown exponentially. This shown through the recent qualification of Team Israel that's going to be going to the Olympics in 2022. So thanks again, William. I'm going to ask you to unmute your mic now, and you can take it over and begin with our interview with Daniel Bluman, our awesome special guest tonight. Thank you.
The unmuting part was not going to be easy for William. You should have told him at the beginning that you were going to ask him to do that.
All right, are we unmuted?
You're good.
Okay, so thank you for the introduction. I wanted to start by saying to you, first of all, thank you for having me on. And I wanted to talk to Dan. Obviously, a lot of people that are on know who Daniel is. For those of you that don't know who Daniel is an Olympic rider from Colombia who is now representing Israel. And the fact that he's Jewish is very important to him. What is connected to the 2 of us, he's 30 years old, I'm 60 plus. And what has connected us is his grandparents are Holocaust survivors. My parents were Holocaust survivors. So Daniel, I'm gonna back you up a little bit, okay? And I just wanted to ask you, explain the Jewish community in Colombia.
Yeah, well, the Jewish community in Colombia right now is actually quite small. There's not many left, but in the late 1940s, after the war, there was a lot of Jews that arrived to Colombia, and as you know, of course, to Argentina and Venezuela and other countries as well. But to Colombia in particular, there was a big group of Jews that arrived. Some of them before the war or during the war, and then a group of them after the war were sent there after surviving the concentration camps and so on. My grandfather being one of them. Through the years, actually, Colombia had a very beautiful Jewish community. The numbers were not huge, but I think that at some point there were maybe close to 4,000 or 5,000 families. Now that is not the case. It's significantly less. I might even be making it up. It might have been actually much more than that, but I know that right now I wouldn't say that there's much more than 1,000 families left in Colombia. But yeah, I mean, we had the Jewish cemetery, we had the Hebrew school, we had, we have synagogues, actually multiple synagogues in some of the cities. So yeah, I mean, my upbringing in Colombia was very Jewish. Very proud of our culture. Actually, I have to say that in Colombia, especially in Colombia, we were able to grow up as Jews, very safe, very accepted. So that was actually a wonderful thing from the Colombian people. And yeah, so I mean, not many people believe me when they hear my accent, but actually, you can have this accent and be Jewish.
So, how did you end up starting in this sport?
I started riding about age 3 or 4, just taking lessons because some of my older cousins were taking lessons as well. and it was just one of the sports that we did at the time. I also did some karate and soccer and different stuff. But I began just like any other kid, and one thing led to the next, and I never stopped riding.
And if you don't mind telling these folks how you and I ever came to meet.
Yeah, of course. Actually, it goes back to the story of the accent, because we were in Wellington a few years ago, and we were working with Lexi, who is actually here joining us, and we were in one of those small rings in Wellington, and I guess my Star of David was out. It came out of my shirt.
Just to interrupt you, so the listeners know, Daniel was not speaking English. He was speaking Spanish to a lot of people there.
Yeah, I was speaking Spanish to a lot of people, and William just came to me. You know how people that know William know how his humor sometimes is borderline humor, and I'm borderline serious, and that's how he approached me. And he says, "Do you know what it is that you have in your neck?" And I go, "Yeah, of course I know what it is." And he goes, "So why are you wearing it?" And I saw he was wearing his as well. So I go, "Well, why are you wearing yours?" And then we both started laughing, and from there on, we became friendly. So he told me a story of his family, of his parents, and I told him of my grandparents. And next thing you know, he was in my farm drinking coffee with my father, and a few months later, he was owning really nice horses. So things kicked off really, really quick for the both of us.
And Daniel, obviously you had represented Colombia as an Olympic rider. How is it that you came to represent Israel? What changed?
Well, I always had very, very tight roots to the Jewish community, and I've had the opportunity to travel very much. I grew up part of my life in Colombia, and then I moved to America. So I, for me, one of the only constant in my life with all of this traveling has been, the Jewish culture and what being Jewish means to me. So it was always in the back of my mind to represent Israel. But years ago, when I became a professional, at first the federation was quite small. There was not really a structure for us to do it. A few years later, they invited me for the first time to represent Israel with a team of other riders. It was not a possibility for me at the time. I was compromised with the Colombian team. We were in the process of qualifying for the next Olympic Games, which we did. I did 2 Olympic Games with Colombia, London and Rio. But then the final day of Rio, actually, when we're about to leave, I made up my mind and I said, okay, now, like starting tomorrow, I'm gonna start the process to be part of that Israeli team. And I really had the dream of being able to go to Tokyo with the Israeli team and be the part of the first Israeli equestrian group to represent our incredible country in the Olympics. So that's how it started. And the next thing we got together. I spoke to William, which at the time actually was already owner of the horse I took to Rio. And he was, of course, thrilled for the change. And then we started working with the Israeli Federation. We put up a group. We funded the federation to be able to hire the best chef d'équipe and trainer that we could. And we started to get
together. Can you explain what a chef d'équipe is, Daniel?
Chef d'équipe is sort of what I did for the team, for the Maccabi, for the Pan American last year with the girls. So it's sort of a person that helps put up the team together, select the riders that are going to ride, in what order they're going to ride, and of course also trains the team and guides us through the competition and through the preparation for the competition. So yeah, I mean, we put up some really good stuff. We added Sidney Schulman, Alberto Michan, and other names to already existing. Danny Goldstein was already representing Israel, and we had Elad Yaniv, another Israeli-born rider. So right now, I think we have a very strong team, and most importantly, I think we have a very strong group of people behind this team that share that same passion that put me in the team at first, which is our Jewish roots. So I am really, 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 really proud of what we're doing, and of course, I mean, it would have not been possible if William had not been as supportive as he has been.
So Daniel, traveling around the world in a sport that is really not considered to be a Jewish sport, It's not canasta. It's not mahjong. So how did you keep your Jewish roots being traveling around the world when the rest of the world really is not Jewish, and it's hard to keep your roots when you're traveling like that?
Well, for me, I think it just really strengthened my discipline, which really helped me in every other aspect of life. I think that keeping my religion, and okay, I'm not the most religious, but I'm religious enough. I eat kosher style. I wrap the filling every morning. I try to have dinner every Friday night in Shabbat, even if I'm at home or if I'm away from home, even if it's only with some friends. So I really keep it with me and take it everywhere I go with me. It's just really, really important in my life. It also made me much more disciplined, just so that regardless where I was going or what I was doing, the routine continued to be the same. Of course, at times it wasn't easy, and I'm not gonna lie. Now that we represent Israel, as we all know, in not in all the countries they love us that much, and there's a lot of people that are not fans of us. So sometimes when we're in different international competitions, we definitely have to be aware, of who's around and our surroundings, and make sure that we keep ourselves safe, but it doesn't matter. I think everything is worth it. Like I said, I'm a man of faith myself, so I've never been too worried. But yeah, I would say that more than being difficult for me to keep strong, tied to those Jewish roots, it's actually been a total blessing. I'm surrounded by people that believe very much the same. Most of my owners are Jewish, same with my sponsors, and in fact many of our clients. So I would have to say that it's a total blessing for me to be able to be part of this community.
Daniel, when you first represented Israel and you won, and you're a humble person because you do win a lot, what was it like when you saw the Israeli flag go up and you got to hear it tick for the first time?
That was a big day. It was a really big feeling for me. It was actually in Madrid, in Spain, during the Global Champions Tour. It was the King's Cup, and it was big. It was big. The place was full, and to see that flag there and everything, it was. I mean, I had the chills. I had tears in my eyes. It was really, really, really emotional. I didn't expect it to be that emotional for me, but it's already the Israeli anthem, the Hatikva, is itself very emotional. So it was definitely a big day, and luckily for me, that was the beginning of a series of victories that we've had. But without a doubt, the most important one was in Moscow last year. That was huge. That was really, really big.
So, we brought a big group of people with us to Moscow that were individuals that had left Moscow because they were persecuted as Jews, and hopefully some of them will join us later and ask questions. What was it like to be competing in Moscow and seeing all those Israeli flags around the stadium?
Look, I'll tell you, that was definitely very nice. That was something that was special. But the memory that I will always hold with me was during the Shabbat dinner that we had a couple of days before the competition, and we were in that very fancy restaurant and whatnot. And then one of the Russian guys just stood up and started reciting all the prayers, the Shabbat prayers, and all that kind of stuff. And I could see in the eyes of all the other Russian guys that were there how meaningful this was to them. Of course, if we know a little bit of the Russian history, we understand that they didn't live in the most beautiful conditions, and they didn't leave Russia because they were very loved over there. It was total opposite. So for them to be back there, because just like I love Colombia, they also love Russia. So I put myself in their position and imagine what happened if I couldn't go to Colombia. We would have been kicked out of Colombia. It would be definitely something very sad. But for them, seeing them back there and enjoying and being able to be Jewish and proud of it and safe, it was big, and that's something that I'm gonna keep with me forever.
Now, obviously, your beautiful wife. You have a beautiful wife, 2 young children. You met her riding, correct, Ariel?
Yeah, I mean she's very beautiful. I have to say, I got really lucky when it comes to my wife. We have a great time together, and yeah, it's actually a funny story. I don't even know if she would be happy for me telling this during a social event like this. But she added me on Facebook, and I was really bored, and I was just scrolling whatever, and then I saw this Jewish name, pretty blonde girl, small, which is perfect, my type. I like him like she is. And I saw a horse, and I said, well, it must be my lucky day. She's Jewish, she likes horses, and she's totally my type. So I went for it, and look, I must have said the right things, but she ended up paying attention to me, and we got married. So that's pretty good.
Daniel, I don't know if you notice it, but when I go to these horse shows, obviously there are a lot of young ladies there that grew up knowing they're Jewish, but with no really religious roots. How do you feel when you see them? Because I do see them now. They come there and they wrap themselves, even though they only know that they are Jewish, with Israeli flags around their bodies. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, it's just been big. I think that there's some of us that are very lucky that our parents and our communities really brought us that pride. And there's a group of riders now that have developed that pride through the sport. Like they identify with their religion and with their culture. More importantly, with their culture. They identify, and that's great. And there are some great names in American sport right now that are Jewish. Some of them actually here, I think, attending the meeting, that I'm hoping that will make the switch eventually and represent the country. There's some real champions of riders out there making a lot of winning, and the idea that we have is that we inspire them to join us someday and ride in the teams and in the Nations Cup, Olympics, on and so forth. So again, that's something that for me makes me very proud. If I have any influence in any of these riders changing flags and ride with us, that already is something that would make me very happy.
What would be your pitch to them as to why they should do this?
Well, that's hard. It's very difficult because I went through that, and like I said, I love Colombia. I mean, if you look at me, you know that I'm South American. You could tell I'm Colombian. I dance Colombian.
I thought you were from
I eat Colombian
food. Daniel, when I met you, I thought you were from Brooklyn, New York, actually.
But you see, I can every now and then people believe my pitch. But yeah, I must have put up a really good accent that day. But normally I look how I look now, and I speak how I speak now. So it was difficult. My pitch to them is it just needs to come from your heart. Like you just gotta really identify with it and just think what you're representing. When you're representing that flag, there's just so much behind it, so much history, so much pain, so much joy. So many lives. There's just, I don't know. I mean, when I'm competing with the Israeli flag, I honestly feel I have an advantage. I'm not gonna lie. I feel so strong, and I feel that it just has meaning. It has a greater meaning than many other things. So I mean, if the young riders feel the same, I mean, I think they should switch. Plus, obviously, riding with me in the team is a great thing. So if that helps at all, I will tell you that if you ride with me in the team, I'm a good teammate to have. I mean, we go to nice dinners. I'm fun. I'm a nice guy. So I mean, if that helps, then let that be the pitch.
Daniel, you go to dinner, you just don't pick up the check. So Daniel, I don't know if you realize this, but when we were in Moscow, it rained. And then when the last rider, when Danny went out, and you explained to them what Danny had to do for us to go to the Olympics, I don't know if you realize this, but we did watching, a rainbow came out. I don't know if you noticed, we did. And there are people that are watching this right now. A rainbow came out before she went into that ring. So if you could explain to the listeners what had to happen, or is you have the team qualify for its very first Olympics?
Yeah, I think things were not really looking very good after the first round. We had solid rounds, but we couldn't really have a clear round. I had a time fault, and that was sort of the best score we had. The other riders had one down. So we were in a little bit of a difficult position. We knew we had to jump clear rounds in the second round to give ourselves a chance. And I started again with a time fault that was very slow. And and then our second rider had a few down, and then pretty much at that point we thought we were lost. I was already packing my things, and Eladia Nip jumped a wonderful clear round, which sort of gave us hope. And then when Dani was about to come into the ring, we knew that if she jumped clear, we would win it outright. You know, like we didn't depend on anybody's score. And if she had one down, then the last Polish rider had to have more than one down, or else we wouldn't win it. And Dani jumped a clear round. It was incredible. It was incredible. And the Polish guy jumped a clear round too. So if Dani would have had a time fault or a rail down, it would have been out. It was magical. I mean, I have to say, Dani held her nerves, and we were all jumping with her. It was a wonderful round. I mean, I don't think I remember ever being happier than I was when she jumped that clear round. It was really, really a special moment.
So for those of you out there, I don't know if Dani's joined in. Dani, I hope you have. I don't know if she did. But she is a rider that wears feathers in her hair. And Daniel, as much as I enjoy supporting you, I've worked out a deal with Dani where she's going to get her feathers from my farm in the future. I'm going to give her free feathers, but she's going to get them from me. So
yeah, that's good. I mean, you do have some nice birds over there, and Dani's creative, so I'm sure you guys are going to work out a good deal.
So, Daniel, tell us about what it was like being the chef de keep in Mexico for the Maccabi Games, for the young ladies that are joined in, and what it was like to now be a coach.
Well, actually, you know what? I've spoken about that too much, and they've heard me, and I've been supported. I want to hear what they have to say about me. How did I deliver? You know, I went over there.
I know what Alexis told me.
We won team gold. We won individual gold. We wiped the whole thing out. You know, we won everything. So I mean, let's give them the mic and let them speak. I know we have a few of them here.
Can we do that now, Shane?
Huh?
Shane, can we do that now?
Sure. I'm going to recognize some of our team members that are with us tonight. And if I leave anybody else, please forgive me and correct me. So I see Violet Barnett, Allison Epstein, Isabela de Sousa, Alexa Schwitzer. We have our team manager, Sammy Pulley, with us, and we have our chair of the Pan American Maccabi Games jumping team. That's Sloan Barnett. Thanks. Sloan was actually the one that introduced us to Daniel and brought him to this event. So thank you, Sloan. I wonder if anybody here is brave and will open their mic and say a little bit about that experience.
Well, I hope they do. Otherwise, they're going to have to find another chef to keep for the Olympic Maccabi Games.
Well, not only that, I know one rider that will no longer have a sponsor.
Yeah, exactly. And I know one rider that will no longer be part of the Bluman Equestrian Team either if she doesn't speak. So we know for sure one will speak. And if I don't know incorrectly, I think Sloan will pick up that mic and say something too, because I went over there because she asked me to go, and we ended up putting all that team together. So let's hope that they open that mic and say a few good words. Otherwise, the interview is over and I'm going to sleep.
It was a spectacular experience, truly, from the beginning to the end. We talk about it all the time. We've done other things since then, but I have to say, I tell it to everyone that the Maccabi game experience, everything about it, the fun, the sports, the competition, the other teammates. I mean, I think Violet could tell you more about what it was like to be in the dorm and to be with the other athletes. Everything about it. I think the equestrian team had a truly spectacular experience in every way. Of course, the chef de keep was a whole nother movie, but the team itself, I think, has a lot to say about what it was like. Violet?
Yeah, it was an amazing experience. It was so much fun to be on a team, and just the show was beautiful, and it was so fun to be an athlete at an event like that and to meet other athletes from all over the world, and just to kind of have that experience at this point in all of our riding careers was really amazing.
And by
I have a question.
Yeah.
I have a question for Violet. As you guys probably know, or some or most of you, she just won a major competition, a major championship last week or a couple of weeks ago. And we would like to know, and you should tell all the other Maccabi girls and future Maccabi girls or guys that are going to be in the team, how did it help you to have already that championship experience and be able to clinch the victory at the end when you have all the pressure going against you? You know, I think that you did that over there in the games in Mexico. I mean, you had to deliver to win, and you did, and you just did the same. I mean, did it help you at all? And if it didn't, then lie and tell them that it did, because we want to motivate the girls to continue going into this game. So just tell us a little bit about that experience.
It was everything. It was so helpful. Maccabi was the first time I had ever jumped on a team, and I was the anchor for my team, and I was the anchor for my team at Prix States too. And so just already having experienced what it feels like to go last and have all that pressure, it's just so helpful to just be exposed to those kinds of situations again and again. And then you just keep getting better at them, and then it doesn't really become a big deal.
And I want the Maccabi folk to know, Shane and company, that we spoke about the experience all the way through Prix States. On day one, during the speed, Daniel, we were like, oh my God, remember how fast the Mexicans went? And we thought we were toast. And I was saying to Violet, we're not toast. We can do it. We can do this. And then on day two, I was like, remember in Mexico City, they were serving tequila right around now to all the mothers. And they weren't serving it wherever we were in North Carolina. There was nothing good. And then on day three, we were talking about what it felt like to come back. And we just spoke about it again and again. I was like, yeah, this is the night Daniel Bluman was drinking all that tequila. And, so I want the Maccabi folk to know that it will stay with us forever, that experience. It was incredible. And the camaraderie and the team feeling, you can't replicate it. And I'm just waiting for my little guy to play golf in Israel for you all. And that team I will captain. I commit to it now.
Perfect. Well, that was the idea. The idea was that all those positive things came out from that, and that's where we went. And well, congratulations again on your win.
Thank you.
I'll also say a couple of things. It was, it was my first experience on a team as well. And it was just so much fun being a part of a team. And I still, all of the girls still stay in touch, we're really close now. And I mean, being a part of a team.
By the way, introduce yourself.
Okay. I'm Isabela de Sousa. I was also a part of the Maccabi team. But it was just an experience you'll never forget. Sloan and Violet were saying, you bring it up all the time, and I mean, it's also when you go without a trainer there, Daniel was the chef to keep, so he helped all of us, and he did a great job helping us adapt to our horses and the courses and giving us advice. And I've never, like I said, I've never been a part of a team, so having a chef to keep was really helpful. And I really want to be part of more teams. It was a great experience, and it's something that, you'll hold on to forever. So.
Thank you, Isa.
I'm Alexa. I also was in Mexico, and it was my first time ever on a team, and I thought for me, the experience was incredible. I also got to meet so many people. I also went there knowing a few people. But I think the chance to, sorry, my dog is barking at me. I think the fact that that I was able to do something like that and represent my country in an unfamiliar place, it just made that experience that much more meaningful. And it's definitely something that I want to do again.
So, Alexa, what I'd like to ask you and the other young ladies that did this, what about being Jewish and competing?
Sorry, you just cut out.
I said,
Dad,
what about the
Dad,
fact?
come closer to the computer because I can't really hear you.
What about being Jewish and competing? Not just the horse competition part, but the Jewish part.
No, I mean, for sure. That's not offered anywhere. The fact that I'm Jewish and that I was able to compete against other Jewish people, it was amazing.
And you make friends there in other sports.
Yeah, we befriended a few other people on other teams.
Some Jewish Mexican boys, Lexi, or no?
No.
Oh, man. Okay. Well, Willie, that's what we were hoping for, but it didn't work out. We'll have to go to Tel Aviv next year to see what happens.
No, all very nice young women, young men, coaches, my wonderful trainer.
Well, that's a good way to begin. That's a good way to begin.
I can go ahead and say something also. I'm Allison Epstein. I was also on the team with the other few girls that just spoke. I am also the younger sister of the beautiful wife of Daniel Bluman that he was just talking about before. So I did have a few connections before I went to the Maccabi Games, but it also was my first time on a team, and it was one of the best experiences of my life, getting to represent my sport, my Jewish heritage, and just the experience all in all was unforgettable. And also just the atmosphere. I mean, the ability, like us going to the the showgrounds and being able to chant and like be an actual kind of team together is just like an unbelievable feeling, and it's something that I definitely want to experience again. So yeah, I mean, I think it's something everyone should experience too. So
Allie, Allie, can I ask you a question?
of course you can, William.
When you go now to obviously you've been riding a long time. You go, let's say, in this sport for the benefit of people that are tuning in that don't really follow horses. Wellington in Florida is like the epicenter for the winter equestrian world, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what's it like now that one of the flags that fly on a Saturday night when all these countries are competing is an Israeli flag and the other girls? What's that like?
I mean, it gives you like a huge sense of pride, to feel like that not only are you being represented, but this entire country and this entire state is being represented after, so many years of kind of flying under the radar, knowing that we actually have this huge following and this huge impact on so many other people and everything like that. I think it just gives you a really overwhelming feeling. And, Daniel was talking about hearing the Hatikva for the first time in Spain, and I bet you that was an amazing feeling, but I also guarantee that never goes away. How many times you hear the Hatikva, it's just that overwhelming sense of pride and being humble, but also really loving what you represent and what it means to you, not only as a rider, but as a country and as a culture in general. When the state of Israel has so much behind it, it's more than just, where someone was born or the religion they represent. It's that really overwhelming feeling of pride and being just really happy and honored to be Jewish.
Thank
True. Willie,
Yes.
let's see if you're able to convince Sydney to go and pitch for these girls, because she's here, she's American. She's American Israeli. She competed for America, now she competes for Israel. She might be able to do a better job than me. Give her mic.
Let's hear her.
Thanks, Daniel. I was waiting for you to put me on the spot. I was waiting for a while to change my citizenship to compete for Israel, just with my family's heritage and my deep roots and connection to Israel, and being Jewish. I was just waiting for the right time when it was appropriate and possible for me to do so. And I've never looked back since. I've now been representing Israel, I want to say, for 3 or 4 years. And it was the best decision of my life. It's opened so many doors for me. I've gotten to compete on a team with Daniel, which is an amazing experience and was a dream of mine, to compete next to a rider with as many accolades as he has.
Oh, thank you.
But Sydney, talk to me, us. Daniel asked you to make a pitch. If I'm a rider out there, why if I'm Jewish, why should I do it?
There's no reason not to. It's amazing to represent the country and be so proud to represent the country publicly, that you hear and you learn so much about the history. You guys have gotten to visit at least once in your life. And you feel such a deep root and connection to it while you're getting to ride for that country. There's no reason not to. I feel extremely emotional and proud when I for being played, and just the smile and the support I get from my grandparents and my family while riding for Israel also was a reason for me to do it alone. I've never seen my grandparents at more horse shows in my life since riding for Israel. So that alone, bringing my family together and the community closer, that is one of the reasons as well as why I decided to ride for Israel.
Beautiful. Yeah.
And we have a lot of fun.
We do have a lot of fun. Thank you, Sid. I'll see you tomorrow.
Bye.
Well, Willie, what else you got?
You tell me, Daniel, I don't know if you want to ask me anything, discuss anything. You know me, I can talk all night.
I have a couple of questions.
Yeah.
If I may. I want to go back a little bit for those of us who are not necessarily that familiar with equestrian and with jumping specifically. How do you teach a horse to jump? And what's it like the very first time that you ride a horse and the first time that horse is making a jump?
Daniel, that question's for me. Whatever.
You're on mute, Daniel.
Daniel, you're on mute.
Okay, good. Good.
Yes.
All right.
Daniel, he wanted me to answer that question.
I gave it a try, but they found out. Yeah, I mean, horses really jump by nature. You don't really teach a horse the instinct to jump. They better come with that. If they don't, you're in a lot of trouble. But what you do is that you try to get their bodies to be as fit and as prepared to be able to jump the best of their ability. You want to work on their technique. You want to work on their muscles, on their flexibility, elasticity, and so on and so forth, so that you're able to give them the best possible chance for them to do their job. As far as what you feel the first time you ride a horse, I mean, the first time I ever rode a horse, I don't remember, I was too young. But I can tell you now that the first time I ride a horse nowadays, a horse that I've never ridden before, there's just a lot of information, a lot of feelings. There's just a lot of things that go on in my mind and in my body, trying to understand these animals that I have underneath me, and how they feel, how they think, what are their weaknesses, what are their strengths, are we compatible? Can I help them become better? So there's a lot of things that you do. I mean, for the people out there that don't ride, I mean, you must understand that we spend thousands and thousands of hours with the horses. They become really part of our lives completely, and I would say, at least for me personally, like a big part of my happiness, my mental stability. They become an extension of your body. So yeah, I mean, horses are just wonderful creatures. I mean, I understand that like William was saying, riding horses is not the most Jewish thing out there when you ask our grandparents, but they were missing out. We are not the ones that were missing out. They were missing out that they were not riding horses. Horses are incredible. Like it's just a wonderful feeling, and yeah, I mean, it's a blessing to have them in our lives every day. Something that I learned a lot about our experience together in Mexico City was about how the horses travel, which really was fascinating to me. Can you tell us a little bit about that? How are you going to get your horse to Tokyo, and how did you get your horse to Moscow and all these places? Oh, they travel much better than you and I. They go on really big spaces. They go on the cargo planes, and they sort of have these stalls that they make for them, and for them it's actually a very easy trip nowadays. The technology and the process is so perfect that it's a really smooth ride. So yeah, they nowadays it's all done by plane. So we know that. Go ahead.
Shane, I want to follow up, if I may. So Daniel, football season right now, and obviously with COVID, there are challenges. So you'll hear, oh my God, how does the team travel one day to across the coast to compete, that the advantage is the team that was already there. Can you explain how it is that, you know, a horse flies across the country, how it is that how quickly that horse is ready to compete at a high level and why?
It all depends on the horse, of course. You know, horses react different, just like humans react different. But horses actually can get off the plane and a few hours later be ready to compete. You know, these horses are seasoned horses. They've done it before. They learn it. They're very smart animals, you know, and they just really, they're really good ones. You know, just get it. You know, they understand that they're part of something special, and they actually enjoy doing their job, you know, doing their profession. So for these horses, it's not really a problem. Even now, in times of COVID or whatnot, the horse traveling has remained pretty similar as it was before. Of course, we're taking a lot of precautions to make sure that us humans, you know, stay safe. But yeah, I mean, we haven't been really traveling much outside of the country. Actually, none at all since the beginning of COVID. It's been confirmed for the moment that we will be going to Geneva for the Grand Slam, and in December we'll see if it actually does happen, because things change every day. But it's been a slow year, but it gave us the chance to compete a lot here in America and be with our families and you know, and explore other things. So I mean, we gotta take the good out of the bad.
Daniel, what is the Grand Slam?
Well, the Grand Slam, the Rolex Grand Slam, is a series of shows, 4 of them, that by many of the riders are considered the best events of the year. It consists of a horse show in Holland in February or March. It's called San Hertogenbosch. Then it comes to Aachen, which happens at the end of May, beginning of June in Germany. And then you go to Calgary in Canada in September, and you close the year with the Grand Prix in Geneva, which happens in December. So I mean, in general, the shows that are organized by Rolex and their team are normally the most prestigious ones, and this Grand Slam is definitely, at least for me, besides championships and Nations Cups, are really the most interesting competitions of the year. So we always look forward to being able to do some of those.
Daniel, we know that you qualified for Tokyo, which is incredible. Did you qualify on a specific horse, or can you choose any horse to join you there?
Oh, in fact, I am not qualified myself. We qualified a team, you know, so then it comes to our chef d'équipe and trainer to select the riders that are going to go. At this point, there's several of us, you know, with good horses, you know, Sydney, who is here with her horse, and then Alberto Michan, and also here in America. Then we have Ashley Bond, also here in America. Teddy Vlock actually is doing really good. Then in Europe, we have Danny Goldstein, we have Eladia Neve, and well, I hope I'm not forgetting anybody, but those are really the ones that I keep in my mind the most. Hopefully, if I get to be selected, and you can be selected with any of the horses that you have, it doesn't necessarily have to be the one we jumped in Moscow. Which, anyways, for me, that's my choice. Anyways, you know, like if things remain the same way, I think Ladriano will be my ride. It's as good as a horse as anybody can have in the world. So if he's fit and healthy at that time, and I am selected, that'll be a horse of my choice. Unfortunately, we couldn't go this year. We were really looking forward to it, but we really hope that things are okay and that we can go next year, because, you know, for us athletes, the Olympic Games is really a dream, and it's at least for me, is the reason I do the sport. You know, nothing like an Olympic experience. You know, take the Maccabi Games and multiply it by 1,000 and imagine how it feels there, especially when you're representing Israel. I'm sure that it's going to be something out of this world, the feeling that I'm going to have when I get to be there with the other Israeli athletes and represent my country in the world stage like that.
How many members are there on a team in the Olympics?
The new format is going to have 4 of us go. 4 of us will travel to Tokyo. And out of those 4, 3 will compete in the team competition. So yeah, that's the format now. So 4 of us will be traveling with our horses to Tokyo, and from there, three of us will jump on that competition, on that team day.
This is the largest Israeli delegation to the Olympics, I think, ever. Partially because of thanks to your team, and partially thanks to the baseball team, which we had on a previous show. I'm just wondering a little bit about your relationship with the Israeli Olympic Committee, and how that works. And do you spend time in Israel? Are you required to spend time in Israel?
Yes, we are. Well, it's not that we have to spend time in Israel. Anyways, I go every year. I try to go every year. But as athletes, we do have to go over there. Part of being part of the Olympic team, or an Olympic prospect, is that you have to work closely with the Israeli, with the Israeli doctors and the Israeli team over there. So we all had to go over there and run a series of tests for our bodies and for our minds and whatnot, and then they follow up with us to make sure that we're fit and we're doing good, which is excellent. It's just wonderful to be able to count with a whole team that really aims to take you to the highest level that you can go. We have a great relationship with the Olympic Committee. They've been super supportive of the equestrian sport since we began this project. Before, there was not much going on, but now it's actually going great, thanks to our president, Ken Lalo, and Amihai, Dr. Amihai, that it's sort of like the team manager, and he himself has been involved in sport for many years. So yeah, it's actually really good. They're being very supportive, and they're helping us with everything that they can, and I think it's just it's a movement that is just growing. It's constantly getting bigger and bigger. So like I said, thanks to William and other sponsors that have been involved. Sydney's grandfather, Mr. Schulman. It's been a great Israel support all his life, and we've been able to do multiple fundraisers, and it's really wonderful. I hope one day you get to see it yourself, but it's just really something that, even for me, as involved as I've been on the Jewish community, living all of this process has taken my pride even to another level.
Daniel, if somebody's listening and would like to get involved to help support the team, how and what would they do to be able to do that?
Well, I'm sure that you can contact any of us, or you, or even go through the Israeli Equestrian Federation website. There are emails. There's many ways, and we have multiple fundraisers a year. As I said, we're doing really good, but obviously as the team grows and there are more athletes and more young athletes coming on board, of course, it's the team grows and the expenses grow. So everybody that will be part of it, and even if you don't want to be part of it financially, you don't, because you can't. It's always great to have people on board and traveling with us to the shows and being supportive. We have a great thing going on, and we're always happy to count as many people as we can.
I don't know, Shane, if you have people out there that travel to Moscow, if we could mic them in, if anybody wants to tell us about their experience.
They're welcome. They can open up their mic. I'm not quite sure who's with us tonight, but please.
Russell, are you there, Russell? Anybody that went to Moscow once, like I'm at an auction.
Giovanni looks like he's trying to speak.
Is Johnny trying to talk? Johnny, you're on mute. Johnny,
Yeah.
You're on mute though.
Johnny, you're on mute.
Johnny, you need your sons to unmute you.
I don't think it's gonna work, Dad.
No.
Thank you for joining us, Johnny.
Yeah, Johnny comes from the same school as William when it comes to technology. So the chances that he's able to unmute that thing, he might end up calling 911 and making a whole mess out of with his phone. So it may be better to leave Johnny muted for now.
Hey, Daniel, how do we get some of that Bluman equestrian swag? I like the hat that you have.
You see, it's coming in style. Now when my wife first made them, they were supposed to be only for me, but nowadays I travel a little bit and people are taking them from me. So I guess I'm not the only one that likes it, but yeah, we can send to anybody that wants.
Yeah, Daniel, I want one too.
I don't have one.
Yeah, come on.
I also
No,
don't.
it's just from people, just for people outside of the team, not for any Bluman
Oh,
Equestrian
okay.
members.
Well, perhaps you need to make a donation to Israel Equestrian, and then you
There you
get
go.
some Bluman
Look at that.
Equestrian
That's great.
swag.
Make a donation and you get a hat.
So Daniel, tell me if we covered it, I'd like you to reiterate this. You know, the making history part, like Israel will have its very, very first equestrian team going to the Olympics. What's that like?
No, as I said, it's something that has all of us very excited. We're really proud. I mean, honestly, right now, I just really want to be able to get there. We want to be able to get there. For us, is a big project that we've had with a lot of effort. Like you, of course, know, because you've been a big supporter of the team. This is something that we're really looking forward. We need to go there so that we can continue with this movement and then keep planning on next Olympics, next World Championships, European Championships. But I mean, there's a long way to go. Israel is a small nation. Israel is a very, very, very small nation when it comes to equestrian sports. We're also one of the newest nations in equestrian sports. So there's a lot of work to do, but I think we're very lucky to count with a very, very strong and proud American Jewish community, and an American Jewish community that actually is greatly involved in horses. In fact, some of the greater owners of the greatest owners in the sport, in our sport, are Jewish. So I mean, there's just a lot to work with, and I think it's just gonna keep growing. We need to get to Tokyo to get our feet wet, and then keep climbing. I mean, I don't know. I think you should add. I mean, you yourself have been very invested in this thing, and actually even much more intense than me when it comes to asking people for money. So I mean, go for it. I mean, there's some people listening, and if they're not listening, maybe somebody will record you and send it to other people. But you yourself have been very invested in this project. So talk to us a little bit and tell us why you've been so invested, and why do you think how do you think we can motivate other people to be invested just like you?
Okay, so I will gladly talk about that. Shane, we have a couple minutes.
Yep.
All right. So obviously, my parents were Holocaust survivors, and obviously, they faced execution for this, and death and murder solely because they were Jewish. And unfortunately, what I see and what I hear from, the young ladies' generation that we took with us to Maccabi, a lot of them, not the ones we brought with us, is, oh, the world has changed. You're just paranoid. It's not like that anymore. And what I've tried to say to everyone is, every time you want to try to forget you're Jewish, the world will remind you, but not in a good way. And although I'm not the most religious person, even though I was sent to Hebrew Day School and Yeshiva, there are many ways to, as Ali said, support your Jewish roots. And so I met Daniel, and in this sport, and when Alexa was coming up, and for those of you that are not in the sport, she was coming up as a junior in something called the Hunters, which is young girls coming up. The most incredible competitions, the finals, the day that you would aspire to be at, I always found they were either on Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, and it really aggravated me. And I didn't think it was by accident, because it never happened on Easter or Christmas. And it was happening in New York State, which I could not believe. There was no way that I thought they didn't know it was Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. As a matter of fact, Daniel, we had the competition in Central Park that took place on Rosh Hashanah, remember. And I didn't think that was by accident. And so I said to myself, okay, I might not be one of these people that goes to synagogue a lot, but I still feel very close to being Jewish and my culture. What can I do? And I was lucky. I was able to, I met you, and you and I had the same roots and the same feeling about being Jewish we were proud to be Jewish. And I'm going to tell you folks a little story. When Daniel won, he won 3 days in a row in the Hamptons in New York, which is a prestigious competition. And he won 3 days with different horses, and we got to hear Hatikva. And somebody came up to me and said, not only did these people never hear Hatikva, they had to listen to it 3 days in a row. Then we went up to New York, in New York State. We went upstate to, where was it for that first, Daniel? I forget, after the Hamptons.
Saugerties.
Saugerties, New York, which is all of an hour away from New York. And somebody said about the horse you were riding, Daniel. That horse, two guys, that horse is owned by Jews. And the way that they said it was with this lovely anti-Semitic tone. And I walked up to these two gentlemen and I didn't get angry. I wanted them to know who I was. And I go, that horse isn't owned by Jews. And they go, yes, it is. And I go, no, it's owned by this Jew. And what has gotten me close is I take pride. You know, when we got involved in trying to get this team together, everyone said to me, why are you doing this? Why are you trying so hard? What's the point? And I think that's what drives me and Daniel. When people tell us something can't be done, it drives me and him to do it. And our Jewish roots, you know, are what holds us together. And so all the people that traveled with us to Moscow, it was their Jewish roots that brought them to go. And so my answer is, look, you know, we need help. We need sponsors. We need everybody out there, not people to wait to see. We're going to be successful and hopefully in my lifetime, but we don't want people to wait to see the success. We want them to help us to become successful. And so what drives me and continues to drive me is, you know, people telling me, hey, you know, okay, you got a team, but you'll never be anything. You'll never get anywhere. And that's what personally drives me. And I think that competitiveness is something that I have a bond with Daniel. Even though we're a generation apart, we share a common bond. He knows what I'm thinking. I know what he's thinking. And so I hope you folks out there, you know, will come and help support us. And I do this honestly for the next generation because, you know, you have daughters out there, a lot of daughters that are in this. You know, our Jewish roots are incredibly important. And I don't want that generation behind us to forget about our Jewish roots. And for me, it comes from the fact that my parents were Holocaust survivors and their family was murdered for no other reason other than they happened to be Jewish.
Well, that's strong, but yeah, couldn't put it any better way. That's how it is. I mean, for that, definitely for some of the younger people, it's difficult even to understand many of this stuff because it seems like it was a very far away past, but it actually wasn't that past. And like you said, the world has no problem to remind us that we're Jewish, and not particularly in the most lovable way. So we might as well embrace it and feel strong, stay together, stay strong, and of course be a good example to the other nations of how you can be, you know, you're Jewish and you can be a good person, a good horseman, a good businessman, a good whatever. So for sure, that's also something that motivates me, and it is to be a good example and all around person, you know, not only in the show ring, but also outside of it, because as we all have heard, when we get criticized, they don't just tell us that we are bad or ugly or rich. It always comes there, you're a rich Jew, an ugly Jew. They always put the Jew. So I like to replace the adjectives for positive things. You know, you're such a nice Jew. You're such a polite Jew. You know, like all these, only good things. And by us representing our religion and in my case, the Jewish state, it gives me a better chance that when people have something good to say about me, they also remember that I'm Jewish and that I'm Israeli, so they can associate that you know, all those good qualities with the fact that we're Jewish and Israelis in the world, not in the States. I mean, many people, some people have not had the opportunity to travel perhaps as much as we have because of the sport. In America, we are, I mean, being Jewish actually is something very nice, very, very strong, very positive. But in most countries in the world, that's not the case. And we want to make sure that that doesn't happen here in America as well. We need to continue to thrive as a culture, as a religion, and you know, to just stick together and give a good example.
Daniel and William, your passion and your determination is inspiring. And riding with the Magen David and playing Hatikva at your competitions is just such a point of pride for us and for the entire Jewish community. And I want to thank you, and thanks for spending time with us tonight and for inspiring another generation of Jewish riders. I also want to thank our alumni for joining us tonight. It's been a really special event. For those of you who are interested in participating in the Maccabi, you can submit applications for the next games, which are 2022. I expect to see most of you there. And hopefully you've been enjoying our Maccabi USA at Home series. Our next guest will be a week from tonight, which is Dara Torres. Dara is a multiple-time gold medal Olympic swimmer. And I also want to remind you that Maccabi USA is also a nonprofit 501c3. So if you appreciate the work that we do for the Jewish people and you want to support us, you can make a tax-deductible donation. I'll send a follow-up email and include a link there, and I'll also include a link for how you can support the Israeli Equestrian Team. So this has been a really inspiring and fun hour. I want to thank you all once again for joining us. I'm going to leave this chat open for a little while if you want to reunite with your teammates, or if you just want to schmooze, or if you have to put your kids to bed like Daniel does. Wish you Lila Tov, and thanks again for tuning in.
Yeah, thank you, man. Yeah, well,